Hey everyone, so for this week what we're doing is continuing with our Miya Concept. Now, the thing that we're doing this week is setting up for shading so that we know where the lights and the darks are going to be for the image. And I started to do a little something different than I normally do. Normally I just start painting and then work on shading while I'm doing it. But I wanted to try a little something different. Here, the first thing is I have a separate thing open, but in case you guys were wondering when I flopped to it that I have the marking on the opposite side, and that's because I want it to be on the left side of the eye, and that is basically what we're doing. So we got that. So what I did is take a full copy of all the layers that I have of this image, got rid of the old background that I had before that had my sketch. Same way we did to make the line art was to Control-Shift-C, copied all of it, and then moved it to this one, and I just, my shortcut is Control, comma, for inverting it, or flopping the different horizontal for mine. You could put it to whatever you aren't using, like I don't use Control comma at all, so that's my setup, and I can do it and like just click and it flops over. So and I want it to be on this side, so it's like my thought is to have the sun or the moon coming from, I'll do this. I want the moon to be coming from like this direction, so I'm gonna have like the light, it be kind of like from this side over. So that's what you want to do. You're gonna have some light to the back, to right about here, and I'm putting little circles where the light will reflect from because of the ground and also how the person's standing. So all here is going to be light, and it comes up, a little bit of light here, a light off of the actual weapon, and because there's no wall or anything, trees stopping the light to hit our character, there will be some light here, but there won't be any light really here, and that's why it's not circled. So this right here won't have light. Right here has no light until about here has some light, but not as bright as the top part. So it's going to be really bright up here, and it will slowly fade to the ground, and then it will be really dark down here for our shading. So that's what I have set up. That's my thought process for the lighting. So I already started with this thought process here. As you can see, I put where I want the moon to be coming, and the moon's light is supposed to come off onto my character. Make sure it's selected. And as you can see, I basically, to do this, we could do it on this layer as well. So you can see is basically I just go from black, and I make sure under my brush presets I use this one because it's 30 and it's blurred. And when you use it, and I'll turn this off, you can see if we make it bigger, you can see right here that it comes kind of gray, and then if you go over it again it gets darker, and then again it gets darker, and so forth. It eventually gets to pure black, and you don't really want that. You want it to be, like I said, it's not gonna be pure black. Maybe right about here might have the gradient to about right here, so it's not completely black, but it's not completely gray either. And then be pretty light here. And what I do is I take a lighter gray to kind of give it this definition. So this is basically, I'm just showing what I did to come up with this. And I used white helps, because if you use a white brush, it's not going to be pure white. You have to like go over it a lot to actually get that. So this is where I want my actual setup to be for my lighting. Kind of throw that away, don't need it. Now, I want to use a couple images that I found off Google. There's this one, has a nice shine of the light, and then you can see that it's dark at the top. And then same with this one. You can see where the light is hitting, and then when the light is not hitting on the tree and on rocks. The reason I'm using these two images is kind of like a reference for lighting is because of how bright the moon is, and that's really what I want. I want it to be not like the sun, but not as dark as realistic moons are. Sometimes it's really dark, you can't see because of we have too much light. So what we're going to do, and I have a couple versions, so I stuck it here. I'm not sure if I really like that position. Actually, I want the moon to be about, I'm going to zoom out here. So the moon's going to be right about there for this one, and then on this one we want the moon to be right about here as well. So I'm going to actually, what you can do for this part, and this is kind of what I've done on my practices and my own other art that I'm working on lately, is you'll take the opacity of it, you'll lower it down so you can see where the moon is and how your character is standing. So you can see that even with the opacity, you can see that the light hits here, and it kind of fits a lot better than this one. Let's see, I got this past about 60. Yeah. It's like the choices of which one I want. I think this one is the better because of how the light shines, and it's dark the rest of the way. So we want to keep the opacity about this. We don't want it too bright, and we don't want it too dark. Now, in case you're wondering, there's grass in the background and stuff. The grass is not going to be there. This is just to kind of get a idea of where I want the lighting. And this helps. If you have one of the mannequins for art, you can use that. That helps a lot too, and have a spotlight, and you can kind of see where the light hits. That's one way you can do it and work from that. So we want to let's see, I want to control V. Oops. I want to duplicate that. And the reason I want to duplicate it is to make a copy more like that. And the reason why is so I can see where the light is hitting, and on this copy layer I can do a little bit more difference of light, because here you can't really see the image. I mean, it looks really dark, and even if I zoom in, you kind of can't see it that well. And we don't want it to fade too much. So on the copy layer, this is where I could start working on the colors. I still haven't decided on what yet. On all of it. I know the pants is going to be like this blackish, blackish is not a word, but it's like a black green type color. So I want it to be about here. And the reason why I wanted this color is because of the actual, it's like elven armor, but my own twist of it. So you want it to be like so. And then when you turn off the actual background, you'll see where it becomes apparent. Now, there's one thing you notice that before we end here, in a few minutes, I kind of draw off of the actual image, and how to fix that is to, let's see, on this layer I'll do it, is you'll use the lasso tool, and you kind of just do this. So everything I color in this section is now only going to be there. So you can see it only goes there. It won't go anywhere else. So that's one way you can do it. There's another way to, and you just Control D is to deselect. We're gonna just do this. Another thing is you take the wand tool. Well, it's not really the wand. This is for selecting. And basically, you just drag where you want it, or click. You don't have to drag at all. So you just click where you want. It's a special selection tool, and so everything in this area, when I swap the brush, is gonna get colored in. So I want it to be about just like that. And as I said, when you look at this, you know where the lighting's gonna be, and you know exactly where a couple of the other spots are gonna be dark. So you want to slowly start adding more dark to those areas. So for me, I'm already gonna add right here is gonna be darker. And right here is gonna be darker. But not too dark. What you can do is always take that off. And since I have this gray already here, you can kind of see where it's gonna light up. So there's your shading, basically. And to fix this little spot that you see that's kind of too bright, you will do a lighter color. So as you see, it's kind of brighter in that spot. And then you deselect. When you see it, that's your pants. So you kind of have that lighting of where the pants is and where the shine would be from the moonlight. This is pretty much what we're going to do for the rest of the art. There's going to be some spots that are a little tricky, like right in here. But all you gotta do is just use a smaller brush. And I is for your eyedropper. That's what is default. So that would help for while you're working on it. Let's see, and I want to go eye here. Okay, and we're coming up to another 15 minutes here. Now, there's one thing before I cut this video is that you don't want too much of the line to show. You want it there so you know where it's defined, but you don't want it like so defined that you can't tell the difference between a painting and line art. So you want it to kind of mesh in there. So as you see, you can't really see the line, but you know it's there. You don't want it the sketched line that has the spacing. So for next week, we'll continue adding more of the lighting, and I think probably I'll just speed through it, maybe. Still debating, but I'll try and explain as much as possible on what I'm doing to add the color. There's other things you can do for lighting, and if you want to add like actual 3D photos into it, or 3D models, and compress that into a 2D image, that's another way you could do backgrounds. It will help for some backgrounds, and since I'm not putting anything back there, the 2 reference images that I showed are really just there to show where I want to have my lighting reflecting on my characters. So hope I see you guys next week, and we'll continue with our Maya filling in color.